Thank you very much, Ngozi Onyejaku. They're talking about land reforms. But from land reforms in Nigeria, we're moving to probably looking at the country's economy and the country, in fact, wholesomely. And like I told you earlier on, we'll be looking at Jonathan's 2 years on the saddle, a midterm report. He presented it last week, 29th of May to be precise, at the International Conference Center right here in Abuja. Since that report came out, many people have either praised or criticized that report. For some people, this is the first time a president is coming and saying, look at my scorecard. You can use your own marking scheme to rate me. Well, whether we rate him good or bad, at a point, we can say that the president should be praised at least for presenting his scorecard. Whether he has failed, whether it's a failure he presented or is a pass, is another issue altogether. Now, but during the midterm report, the coordinating minister of the economy, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, actually presented something that was probably more elaborate than what the president said. In it, she talked about the fact that the GDP is one of the fastest growing in the world. Nigeria's GDP is one of the fastest growing in the world. The exchange rate has been stable in the last 2 years. The rate of inflation is coming down. At least that we can say the National Bureau of Statistics have told us that the rate of inflation has come down. It's about 9.1 right now. From 8.6 in March, it's going to 9.1 in April. We're waiting for the May figures. External reserves are rising. And this is coming from a situation where things were much worse. She says also that government borrowing is declining, our national debt is low, waiver and tariff policies have changed, and trade has improved. Well, she says that the Nigerian credit ratings have improved. International investors are more interested in Nigeria. Well, that is the sum up of what Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala has to talk about the country and President Goodluck Jonathan in 2 years. But let's look at it from a project management consultant's view, or the project management's view, because in recent times the world economies have been moving in implementation of budgetary provisions and budgetary issues. They've moved towards the project consultant view, and we have one of Nigeria's leading project consultants. Is the managing consultant for iCentral in Abuja here. Is Taopheek Babayeju. Taopheek, welcome to Global Business.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel.
Now, let's look at the issue of the Nigerian economy. 2 years, Jonathan in the saddle. From a project management point of view, let us start with the economy. What's your rating?
Emmanuel, one of the easiest things to do in this world is to sit down and drive a car with your mouth. People can sit down in the comfort of their homes and say anything about government and governance. But we need to look at facts and figures. Beautifully done by Minister of Finance, where she has rolled out the figures about the GDP, excess crude account going from 4.22 to I think about 9 billion. And I think foreign reserve is about 47 billion now. She's given us the figure. But between you and I, we know an average Nigerian is not concerned about the GDP, the figures and all that. My mother in the village, we want to see power, we want to see security. Apart from the challenges that this government has faced in the past 2 years, which were not invented in the past 2 years anyway, we need to look at it from, like the president said, we need to have a marking scheme. My own marking scheme as a project management consultant is the capital projects, which is the aspect that I'm very, very focused on. This is a country where you have about between 20 to 25% of your budget going for capital projects. And we spend a whopping say 50% on recurrent expenditure. Is a country where you service the civil servant or the civil service, who constitutes less than 1% of the whole population of Nigeria, with about 50% of our annual budget. Take, for example, in 2012, the budget was 4.63, if my calculation says right, 4.63 trillion naira. And for capital projects, we had just a paltry sum of 1.17 trillion naira, out of which about 7.33 billion was cash backed, and I think according to the minister's figures, you have I think about 92% or 92.8%. I hope I'm getting my figures right. 92.8% of that was actually spent. Now, does spending money equal to actual implementation of projects? For the first time, and I make bold to say it, we have somebody that's come to say, I'm not going to release money to you to spend, but I'm going to release money for for projects implemented. I think that's a kudos. I must give that to the team of the Minister of...
even though not everyone is comfortable with that.
Is comfortable with
around
that.
government cycles.
For us as project managers or the project management community, we realize that that is a very good step in the right direction. Some of us may not like the style of Mr. President. Even Obama gets his knocks everywhere. You still have the insecurity that is still parading this country. And you also have issues of power. You have turbines lying down there in Lagos that, these are project management challenges that somebody somewhere ordered turbines that are actually too big for the bridges that we're going to cross. So somebody was not thinking about the end from the beginning. So we have issues with implementation. So if in 2012, out of a 4.63 trillion trillion naira budget, we have about 700 billion naira, worth of capital project, which of course, you and I know that out of that 7.3 trillion naira, whatever it is, 733 billion naira, about a large amount of that will go into private pockets. Now, that brings me to the capacity and the transparency within budget implementation. We have always advocated within our community. You are very aware of the National Project Management Conference that we do annually, which is, we're going to have the 5th edition. And I'm also coming from a seminar on project management where you had Professor Otomi and the rest of them talking about this same issue. How do we track performance? I'm very happy that we had, National Planning Commission represented, the M&E department,
monitoring
and evaluation department, where we're discussing how do we integrate project management, not just M&E. M&E is just a subset of the whole project management framework. You have implementation, you have planning, you have execution, you have monitoring and control, which is also monitoring and evaluation in government cycle, and you have closing. So what are we monitoring and evaluating when a project is not properly conceptualized and it is not properly planned, and execution is, we all know what the problem is with projects, budget implementation or capital project implementation. So what are we monitoring and evaluating? So that brings me to the 2012 budget, and I'll say unequivocally that we should, just like it's been recommended from different quarters and the recommendation of Steve Oronsai committee, that we have so much overheads going into running governments. In 2013, unfortunately, the budget of 2013, which was, for the first time passed before December. And we're so happy, within the community that, for the first time, we're going to have a situation whereby budget implementation starts at least first quarter of the year. But as we are right now, it has not started. And that budget made provision out of, I think, 4.97 trillion, which is almost 5 trillion naira. You have a situation where you have about 2.37 trillion, I hope my figures are correct, which is almost half of the budget for recurrent expenditure again.
No. I think, yes, I know that, but you also know that there has been a drop.
Yeah, there's been a drop.
Yes.
No. I'm just saying that the ratio of recurrent expenditure to capital projects, what drives the economy is not It's actually go all over the world. Go to Dubai. We're all traveling to
No,
Dubai.
but don't you think that the minister or the government should be commended for the for at least for dropping, because you cannot for something that runs an institution like government, you cannot at once just swap the positions.
I'm just giving you the figures here.
Yes,
I'm just giving you the figures. And I think capital projects is about 1.6, which is, it's a slight increase.
Yes.
And if I remember vividly when the Minister of Finance, I'll give it to her. She knows the difference between cash release and implementation.
Yes.
And the traditional people in the past will feel, hey, you have released so amount of money and you have implemented so percentage. But we need to see physical infrastructure. And the area of focus of 2013 budget, if my memory serves me right now, is job creation. Yeah. We've seen you win. I have a couple of colleagues.
Internship scheme.
I have a couple of colleagues from my alumni in EDC who have won the You Win award, and they are doing very well. We should give that to the government. We're creating jobs. Now, we have the Shopee program, the GIS and the rest of them. Those are lovely.
So that's what I was actually coming to. These are practical examples that
of
the government making an effort.
Yes.
Because whether the effort is good enough or not is another aspect, but at least the government is making an effort to do something about job creation.
Job creation.
But you win creating about probably, I got the figures here.
Yeah.
But just a minor 100 and something
but hey,
thousand and all that.
It's a right step in the right.
It's a good start,
if every state has something like that, then we should we should be sure of getting a lot of youths out of the streets. Another area of focus is, I think, gender empowerment and sports development, which it's not really my area, but we've seen.
How many of these areas the government has focused on can really jumpstart the economy for you and I and our mothers or grandmothers or great-grandmothers in the village to begin to feel the impact of these programs? But let me just tell you that you can join us on this discussion. You can tweet at us at Ohio. It will come on your screen soon at Ohio. Or you can even send Taopheek a direct message at Taopheek. It's Taopheek. Taopheek at Taopheek. That's our Twitter handle. Now,
Taopheek. So, what you and I would like to see is a situation whereby capacities are built across MDAs, where monies that are actually earmarked for capital projects are actually, judiciously used, and projects are implemented. I listened to the Minister of Works yesterday. 32 roads are completed between last year and this year. Fantastic. Railway projects. We have the rail, from Lagos to Kano now.
What are the strengths of those railway? We've had like 2 accidents already. I'm not trying to put spanner in the works of Nigerian Railway Corporation, who are making an effort to revive the railway. But what is the strength, Because I think we get too carried away in this country when we say that, we have done something. How well, how good, what is the quality of what we are doing?
Good. Now,
we have already had 2 rail accidents in Lagos.
Ime, I think you're talking to me from the project perspective, right? Yeah. And I'll tell you that one of the most important things to do when you're initiating a project is to actually determine what is the desired outcome. What is the product that we desire from this project, and what is the stakeholder satisfaction level? What would we judge as, we have budgets every year. It does not really, there's something called stakeholders management, where you actually, manage the expectation of the stakeholders. Now, Nigeria is the biggest project we'll ever handle. You understand? But what is the expectation of you and I? I think communication management is actually lacking in government policies. The fact that National Assembly and the executive will always have this, these issues, among between themselves, on budget implementation, is an indication that stakeholders are not being managed. And what are we expecting out of the budget? There's 32 roads constructed. There is one railway moving, but is that enough to serve the Nigerian people? Exactly. I'm not political. As of today, I don't belong to any political party. So my allegiance is to the Nigerian project, not the not whether APC or PDP. But what we're saying is we're making efforts, but it is not. Is it enough? We're moving somewhere, but are we getting the right feel? Now the Ministry of Finance is getting it right. We have to release. We're not just releasing funds, but we need to ensure that those funds are being properly
and judiciously used.
But hey, can you give what you don't have? Does the civil service or the MDA have the enough capacity to implement those projects? And are those projects, the business case of those projects, are they satisfied from the word go? How does it fit into the strategic objective of the nation?
We need to go just very quickly because we need to go to the next segment now. But very quickly, in the next 2 years, let's assume that the government has worked in the last 2 years. In the next 2 years of its tenure, should it run? I mean, let's assume in the way it has implemented projects, it has worked. We could say it worked. So because it was a bit slow, but there was some effort. Should it run in the next 2 years?
Should what run?
Should the government run? In other words, should it be faster in the things it's implementing?
Okay. Well, we need to fast track the speed of development because the average Nigerian is not all about GDP. It is you and I that knows the impacts of GDP, the foreign reserve and all this. What people want to see is power. What they want to see is security. What they want to see is good roads. What they want to see is infrastructural development along health, education and the rest of them. So there's something called fast tracking and crashing in projects. You need more hands and you need to double up the efforts of development. If not, people are going to revolt. But the change that you and I, on the party notes, the change that you and I require is not going to come from the Aso Rock Villa. It's going to come from the entrepreneurs. So they need to make the environment, conducive. What we need as entrepreneurs, I've run business for almost 9 years. What we need as entrepreneurs is the right environment. Nobody's waiting for Nigerians' government's money to be doled out. But make power available to us. Let's have good road. Let's move our goods from the hinterland to the city.
And I tell you, one of that too is to also pay the entrepreneurs the money you owe them. Pay domestic debts. That's what we're talking about at our second, with our second guest, Dr. Uche Uwaleke, after Street Business. But thank you very much, Taopheek, for coming on Global Business.